All right, let's go to our top international story. The UN Security Council is meeting this hour to discuss the Ukraine crisis. The meeting comes amid high tensions after the West accused Russia of deploying around 150,000 troops near Ukraine's borders in recent weeks. US President Joe Biden told journalists earlier today that the threat of a Russian invasion of Ukraine is, quote, very high and could take place within days. For more on this story, let's cross live to our correspondent, William Denselow, who's in New York, just outside the UN headquarters, I see. So, Will, I've been watching this story very closely. The likelihood of a Russian invasion is high, according to the West. First, let's actually tell our viewers why Russian President Vladimir Putin is accused of wanting to do this.
Well, the message really from Russia that we've heard time and time again is that they're concerned by what they perceive as a build-up of Western forces in Eastern Europe. They're concerned as well about efforts from Ukraine to try and join NATO. Those are several demands that Russia has laid out over recent weeks and months. They also are accusing Ukraine on this, the anniversary of the 2015 Minsk agreement, of being the ones that have consistently violated it. Russian representatives speaking at the UN Security Council chamber just a few meters from where I'm speaking to you here from in New York have said that Western powers have been ostrich-like, meaning burying their heads in the sand, as Kiev, as far as Russia alleges, have been the ones violating the Minsk agreement, not them. Of course, that has been categorically refuted by Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, addressing the Security Council, describing the current situation as a moment of peril, saying that, as you mentioned, Shahan, that Russia has amassed around 150,000 troops on borders of Ukraine, and that they are looking for a potential pretext for war, something that President Biden has reiterated today as well, saying that an invasion could potentially come in the next few days. Now, I'm speaking from outside the UN, and as you can probably see and hear behind me, there are plenty of demonstrators standing in solidarity of Ukrainian citizens calling for an end to Russian aggression. Shahan?
Yeah, so the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken will make an unexpected, they say, appearance at the UN Security Council meeting on Ukraine. What's the latest? Do we have any information about how these talks are going?
Absolutely, Shahan. This was very much a last-minute addition, and President Biden says that Antony Blinken, addressing the Security Council, really reiterated the seriousness of this moment, and he wanted the US top diplomat to be at the Security Council to speak on behalf of the Biden administration and for the US in general. Now, Antony Blinken has addressed the Security Council and has said that not only is Russia looking for a pretext for war, but also he lined out a few potential ways that Russia might seek to do that. They said that there might be some kind of manufactured crisis, be it a manufactured attack, something to that nature. He warned that that could then be a pretext for bombing from Ukraine, that there could be cyber attacks that follow, and then an incursion of Russian troops into the country as well. He did, though, give a glimmer of hope. He said that Russia could still choose a different path. There is still time, urging Moscow to seek the path of diplomacy. Of course, these are all accusations that have been dismissed by the Kremlin, stating that the troops that have amassed within Russia, and it's their right to do so. We've heard that here at the Security Council for several weeks from Russian representatives. They say that is Ukrainian aggression against their own people in the Luhansk and Donetsk regions of eastern Ukraine. So a very strong counter-narrative there from Moscow. So certainly here at the UN, very little signs of a coming together from US and its allies in Ukraine and Russia. So certainly more divisions here at the Security Council, as of course tensions very much remain high.
Yeah, and you know, if you look at the maps and Russia's argument that they are nowhere trying to invade any aspect or any part of the Ukraine. The maps show that these forces have basically gone all around the borders of the Ukraine. And the fact that, there are talks between Ukraine and NATO about them possibly joining. I've read that Vladimir Putin does not want that to happen because he says that this would actually possibly lead to them losing Crimea, which is the issue here, which he took in 2014, 2015. Let's talk about NATO. There's obviously no love lost between NATO countries. It's been a tit-for-tat situation through so many platforms. How ready is NATO to get involved and retaliate if Russia does invade the Ukraine?
Well, we've heard from Jens Stoltenberg, the head of NATO, that said that there are grounds for Ukraine joining potentially in the future. Of course, there are a number of steps that Ukraine would have to meet, a number of criteria to hit those targets, but that is very much still a goal for Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky, the country's leader, says that that's very much the goal for the people of Ukraine, and it would guarantee their peace and security. So that's certainly what we're hearing on that fact. For Russia, they have really said and have written to the West with that proposal that Ukraine must not be a part of NATO. It's a huge concern for them. As far as Moscow is concerned, they see a build-up of NATO as really a red line, a red flag for them when it comes to their own territorial sovereignty and integrity as well. So huge concerns there. When it comes to the question that hypothetically should NATO feel inclined to respond, of course, it is a pact that guarantees a response if a member of NATO were to be attacked. Of course, at the moment, Ukraine is certainly not a member of NATO, so there aren't those levels of obligations. But what we have seen in recent weeks, of course, is the likes of the US increase their troop presence in parts of Eastern Europe, and we have heard from the likes of the US and European allies that there will be support for Ukraine if there is the potential outcome of a Russian incursion. The message from the likes of President Biden, is that it'll be a lose-lose situation for everyone involved should Russia take that path, saying that there'll be no winners if that is the eventual outcome to this crisis. Once again, reiterating that diplomacy must be the way forward.
Yeah, all right, we're going to leave it right there. Our US correspondent, William Denselow, is live outside the UN headquarters in New York, where that meeting is currently underway about that situation.